My wife of 10 years says she loves me but needs another man who talks about seeing her naked and raw. She swears it's not cheating, calls it a spiritual connection, and I'm slowly losing myself trying to believe her. My wife and I have been together since we were 19, 10 years of marriage, a full decade of growing, breaking, patching things up, and trying to hold on to the life we built. We're each other's first real relationship, the kind where you grow into adult side by side and learn everything: love, anger, forgiveness, together. If I had to put numbers on it, I'd say we've been good 90% of the time. But that other 10%? When it's bad, it's a level of bad that feels like it swallows everything else whole. During the week, I work full-time while she stays home with our 1-year-old daughter. It's hard for both of us, in different ways. She carries the weight of motherhood every single day, alone, while I'm gone. But she also carries something heavier, the echoes of a childhood that never really healed. She was adopted, and that came with wounds that no amount of time or love have fully sealed. Her family, the one she tries so hard to love, constantly takes without ever giving back. They drain her, emotionally and mentally, and every time she reaches out hoping they'll finally see her, she's met with the same silence or indifference. She used to love Christmas. She told me once it was the one time she felt like she had a real family. Now, she dreads it. The gatherings that used to bring her joy are now filled with complaints, gossip, and resentment. She says it's like being surrounded by people, but feeling invisible. And honestly, I see it. She aches for connection, for family that lifts her up instead of weighing her down, but she doesn't have that, not even for my side. My own family isn't much help either. They live a state away, and despite their good intentions, their visits are rare. My mother tries, but her health issues make her more of a worry than a source of support. So it's just us. Two people trying to raise a child, fix ourselves, and keep a marriage intact without much of a safety net. After my daughter was born, everything changed, not just in the way life does when you become a parent, but in the way it feels when everything you thought you knew about your relationship starts to collapse under the weight of exhaustion, pain, and fear. My wife developed postpartum preeclampsia, and for a while, it felt like I might lose her. I remember one night vividly. Her face pale, her breathing uneven, and the absolute terror that she might not make it. I told myself then that I would do whatever it took to keep her safe, to hold everything together. But I was breaking too. I didn't want to admit it at first. I thought being tired and overwhelmed was just part of being a new dad. But the truth is, I was falling apart quietly. I was overweight, barely sleeping, and dealing with a knee injury that made every movement a reminder that my body couldn't keep up with what life demanded of me. On top of that, my mother, who I thought might help us through this transition, turned her stay with us into what felt like a personal vacation. She was no help at all. During all this, my wife began to change. Or maybe she didn't change. Maybe I just started seeing the side of her that came out when she was truly under pressure. When she struggles, she lashes out. She becomes angry, volatile, and sharp. She says things designed to cut deep. Names, threats, cruel statements like, "I should have married someone else," or, "You're the problem." I try to be patient, to remind myself that she's hurting, that it's not really her talking. But the truth is, it wears me down. I can only take so much before I start to break inside. I've tried setting boundaries. I've told her, calmly, that I can't handle being spoken to like that I'll leave the room if it starts again. Sometimes, I actually do. I've covered my ears before, just to stop hearing the things she says when she's angry, but that only makes her angrier. She screams louder, follows me, pushes harder until I can't take it anymore. And then, inevitably, I cave. I swallow my pride, my hurt, and my anger, and I go to her. I apologize, even when I know I haven't done anything wrong, because I just want peace. I want quiet. I want to stop the cycle. But that peace is temporary. It always is. Because every time I forgive and forget, every time I push my feelings aside to console her, I lose a little bit more of myself. The resentment builds, layer by layer, but I never let it show. I've told myself that this is what marriage is: compromise, patience, forgiveness. But what happens when you're the only one doing it? When your forgiveness becomes expected, not appreciated. This pattern has followed us for years. It didn't start after our daughter was born. It just got worse. She's been diagnosed with PMDD, and when it hits, I can feel it like a storm rolling in. Her mood shifts. She becomes irritable, quick to anger, looking for something, anything, to focus her rage on. And that something is usually me. If someone else upsets her, a friend, a family member, a stranger, I'm the one who ends up paying for it. She'll bring up something I did months or even years ago, something I've already apologized for a dozen times, something I've worked hard to change. But in those moments, none of that matters. I've tried to encourage her to take her medication, the one thing that might actually help, but she always gives up after a few days, saying it makes her feel off, or that it's not worth it. And so the cycle continues. Every few weeks, like clockwork, I brace myself for it. The yelling, the tears, the names, the coldness. Anyway, things had actually been better between us for a short while. After our last fight, I tried to let go of everything and just be there for her, the way I always do. It felt like we'd found a bit of calm again. We were laughing more, talking more, and she even started spending time with one of her friends again, a guy she'd known for a while. I'd been anxious about him before, but I tried to ignore those feelings. I've always trusted my wife, even through our hardest times. I truly believed she would never cheat. And I still do, to an extent. I don't think she's done anything physical. I know her tells. She's not a good liar, and honesty has always been something I valued so deeply that I think she's learned to respect that. I've forgiven her for plenty over the years simply because she told me the truth, even when it hurt. That's what trust looked like for us. Not perfect faith, but transparency. Then one afternoon, that trust cracked. I came home from work on my lunch break. My wife wasn't home. Our nanny was taking care of our 1-year-old. I wanted to use my wife's computer for a quick task, something simple. When I opened the laptop, her email was still logged in. I didn't mean to snoop, I swear I didn't, but right at the top of the inbox was a new message from that friend. The subject line hit me like a punch to the gut. Are you still coming to kidnap me today? My stomach dropped. My hands shook. Before I could even think, I clicked it open. What I saw made my blood run cold. There were dozens of emails back and forth between them, a thread that had clearly been going on for some time. In his messages, he told her over and over again that he loved her. He talked about her body, about her fun bits, about wanting to give her a massage with hot coconut oil, about cooking her dinner, about seeing her naked and raw. There was nothing subtle or innocent about it. It was romantic, sexual, and deeply inappropriate. And the worst part? She didn't shut it down. She didn't say stop. She didn't say I'm married. She didn't even sound uncomfortable. She didn't reciprocate directly, but she engaged. She responded with poems. Poems that, when I read them, felt like quiet confessions. When I confronted her later, she said one of them was her way of telling him she couldn't give him her heart or her hand. But the way she wrote it, it didn't sound like she didn't want to. It sounded like she wished she could. A little background on this guy, and I use that word loosely, is that I've never actually met him. I only know what my wife has told me. She met him at work before we had our daughter. He was homeless at the time, came in often and would talk to her. She said at first he creeped her out, but she's always been kind-hearted, the type who wants to help people and see the good in everyone. Over time, they became friends. He eventually got a job and a place to live, but from everything I've gathered, he's still this eccentric, wandering type. He's a Buddhist, apparently, who believes love should be infinite, with no limits or boundaries. My wife says he talks about love and connection in a spiritual sense, that people should be free to see and love each other completely, without shame. I guess that's why some of the things he said, things like wanting to see her naked and raw, she claims aren't about sex, but about her soul. My wife has always had this deep need to be seen and understood. Being adopted, having a broken family, feeling unwanted, she's always carried that emptiness. So when someone starts talking about seeing her completely, I can understand why it draws her in. She says he connects with her on a level she doesn't get from anyone else, and that his love is purely spiritual. But I'm not naive. I've read his words. I can tell what's hidden behind them: desire, longing, fantasy. When I confronted her, she finally admitted that yes, he probably does have romantic and physical feelings for her. She insists she hasn't encouraged it, but she also didn't stop it. She said part of her liked the way it felt, to be wanted, to be noticed, to feel something that wasn't exhaustion or resentment. When I came home that day and confronted my wife about the messages, she immediately went into damage control. She kept saying over and over that she hadn't done anything physical, that she would never do that she didn't want to hurt me in that way. She said it with such conviction that I wanted to believe her, and honestly, I do. I don't think she's cheated physically. But the emotional part, the part where she let this man feed into her deepest insecurities and desires, that's what broke something inside me. The conversation started calm, but it didn't stay that way for long. Soon it turned, as it often does, into her bringing up all the ways I've hurt her in the past. The things I didn't do, the times I wasn't there emotionally, the ways I made her feel unseen. I could feel the shift. Somehow I was the one apologizing again. I was the one trying to comfort her after she'd betrayed my trust. I kept reminding her how good the last week had been, how connected we'd felt, how I just wanted to hold on to that. I told her I wasn't trying to attack her. I just needed to understand why she didn't shut down what he was saying. She hesitated for a long time before answering. Finally, she said it made her feel seen. That he saw her as a person again, not just as a mom, not just as a wife, not just as someone who takes care of everyone else and gets nothing back. She said she felt alive for the first time in a long time, like she had her own identity again. That hit me hard because I understood it, even if it hurt. She said this man made her feel like her, not the exhausted shell she's become. Then she said something that's been replaying in my head ever since. Isn't this a good thing, if it's making me happy and it's helping us? She genuinely believed that because this friendship was giving her energy and positivity, it was somehow benefiting our marriage. That her newfound happiness, even if it came from another man telling her he loved her and fantasizing about her, was something I should be grateful for. I told her how insane that sounded to me. That it wasn't fair. That she was feeding her self-worth on something that was destroying my peace of mind. She said she wasn't sure what she wanted. She doesn't see him romantically, at least not yet, she said. Those words crushed me. She admitted she was scared to shut it down, afraid that if she did, she'd lose that spark of happiness she'd finally found. That she'd go back to feeling invisible, trapped, unloved. I asked her point blank, if he tried to kiss her, if he tried to touch her, would she stop him? She said yes, absolutely, and I do believe her. She says she doesn't find him attractive, that I'm her guy. But then she followed it up by saying she doesn't know what she wants out of all of this, just that she doesn't want to stop him from saying those things to her. Later that night, everything fell apart again. It always does eventually. We started off talking calmly, but the conversation spiraled. She began listing all the ways I've hurt her, all the things I've done that made her feel trapped or unseen. She told me I've tried to control her, to fit her into this little box that both I and society have built around her. And as much as that accusation hurt, I could understand where she was coming from. She wasn't just trying to justify her choices or the friendship that's breaking me. She genuinely believes I've tried to cage her. And maybe, in some ways, she's right. There were times when I made mistakes. Like when I tried to talk her out of getting a tattoo after her miscarriage, not because I wanted to control her, but because I didn't understand her pain. I thought I was helping her, keeping her from doing something impulsive, but now I see how it came across, me trying to silence her grief. I've apologized so many times for the ways I've failed her. I've looked her in the eyes and said, I'm sorry, until the words lost meaning. And I truly am. Even in the moments when she screamed at me, said cruel things, broken me down, I know I haven't been perfect either. I'm religious, and I carry guilt for my mistakes like a cross on my back. My wife's pain runs deeper than anything I could ever touch. Her childhood, her adoption, her family's neglect, it's carved holes in her that I've spent years trying to fill. But no matter how much love I pour in, it never seems to be enough. It's like trying to fill a bottomless well with a cup of water. She says she remembers the hurt, not the healing. The moments I got it wrong, not the thousands of quiet sacrifices I've made trying to get it right. And yet, she still says she loves me. She says I'm a good man, stable and reliable. The man she can always count on. But she also says she needs her friend. That she can't cut him off or put boundaries on what they have. She swears she won't cross physical lines, that she'd never betray me that way, but she refuses to see how much she already has. When I told her it feels like emotional cheating, she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said she didn't see it that way. That it wasn't about love or sex, it was about connection, about being seen. So here I am, trying to hold the pieces of my marriage together with bleeding hands. I'm doing everything I can to make it work, for her, for me, for our daughter. She agreed to transparency, to let me see her messages and emails with him. She promised not to delete anything, to be honest with me moving forward. I told myself that was enough. That maybe, somehow, I could live with this. But I'm falling apart. Every day feels heavier. I keep thinking about our daughter. How I don't want her to grow up in a broken home. How I don't want to fail her the way our parents failed us. The healthy thing would be to leave, to walk away, and stop bleeding for someone who can't see that she's the one holding the knife. But I can't. I still love her, and I can't let go of the hope that maybe love, despite everything, is still enough.